Welcome back to Success Unscripted, where we talk about what success looks like from the inside out. No fluff, no surface level conversation over here. And I'm excited about today's episode because today we're going to do something a little bit differently. So I've had my niece with me all summer. She's been like my little intern. She's 13 years old, Kayla. And today we were talking about potentially filming an episode. And I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? Well, she asked me, what are you going to talk about? And I said, I don't know what to talk about. She's like, well, why don't you go to Instagram and do like a Q&A? And I said, well, then it would have to be an IG Live. And she said, no, have them ask you questions and then answer it here on the podcast, which I thought was a great idea. So that's what we're going to do. So we have a bunch of questions from Instagram, and Kayla is going to help me by asking me the questions. So welcome back to Success Unscripted. Now let's get into it.
The first question is, I feel lost. How do I figure out if I'm even on the right path without wasting more time?
Yeah. And I think the question right there, without wasting more time, is kind of the answer. Because typically we feel like we're wasting time when we feel stuck. And why do we feel stuck? Because we aren't moving. And so I'm ambitious, but I feel lost. It seems like you're looking for clarity. And when we don't have clarity, we feel confused, obviously, right? And so I've been there. I felt at the time like I knew I was doing something right because my team was doing really well, but it didn't feel like something felt like it was missing. So I'm assuming that that's what you're thinking. And like, how do I find my passion is kind of the question behind all of it. And I would say the way you find it is by testing it. And we have got to get to the point where we are taking risks, where we are betting on ourselves. And that could look like, for me and for my clients, it looks like speaking up more. It looks like trying new things. It looks like being around new people. That's what worked for me, and that's what works for my clients. So I would say you should probably stop trying to take the perfect path and start trying different things. It's really about getting the courage to do something that you've never done before. So I would test myself and say, okay, what have I been thinking about doing that I haven't done because of fear? And then do that.
I want confidence so badly, but every time I step up, I feel like an imposter. How do I stop feeling like I don't belong in the room?
How do I stop feeling like I don't belong in the room? Okay. I mean, I guess we attract everything that we've been, because definitely I've been there before too, right? And the thing that I used to do to myself is, number one, I would start paying attention to where I was comparing myself. So I'll give you an example. I was in a meeting one time, and I remember one of my colleagues had come up with this really great strategy based on the data that he had analyzed. And I remember thinking to myself, I was already on this path of like self-discovery and all of that. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, he's so good. He's so good at like analyzing Excel spreadsheets, but I'm not. That's what I thought to myself. So right away, I caught myself comparing myself. And then I asked myself, well, what am I good at? Oh, I have a different perspective. I'm more creative. I'm about the people, right? So I know how to analyze or look at the way people are interacting and then unpack that. So it was just a different perspective. So really, I think awareness is usually the first step around getting clarity around where I need to get more confidence. And confidence only happens through action. So the more you stop being afraid to say your thought in front of others, testing it, doing it, the more you'll feel more confident speaking up. And it's really about understanding where you continue looking for validation. Because when you feel like an imposter, and that imposter syndrome word is thrown around a lot, I kind of reframe it. I say to myself, okay, if I'm feeling an imposter in this room, I'm probably around people that I want to be around. Because I'm thinking, oh, they're doing something really great, right? Because when you're not feeling like an imposter around someone that you're just like, oh, they're not doing anything. So you try to reframe it. Oh, that means you're in the right room. And then understand you belong in that room, right? So it's really about the way that we speak to ourselves and the awareness of, okay, how am I looking at this and how can I reframe it?
What if people don't take me seriously when I speak up? I'm afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or even retaliated against.
Real. This is so real. Okay, so you're afraid of being judged, retaliated against, and what was the other one? Misunderstood. This is the perfect place for us to start using my data framework. So I have a framework. I have a framework that each interaction with people It's just data. It's just information. And so I teach my clients, I have a class that I teach around this theory of mine. And when we implement it, we start with D, discovering. How do I feel? How do I feel, right? If I'm feeling misunderstood or judged or potentially being retaliated against, right? So, okay, let me understand. Okay, this is how I feel. Then we're going to say, we're going to ask a question. So what do you mean by that? Tell me more about what you're thinking. Tell me more. So before you start speaking, I want you to go through this process first, okay? Discover how you're feeling in the room. You're going to say, okay, you're going to add something, right? It's going to be light, kind of surface level. Then you're going to actively listen. Listen to what the person is saying based on your question. Then you're going to ask very targeted questions. That's when you really dive into, when you say X, tell me more about that. When you say Y, can you walk me through your thought process there? So you're asking more questions. The person asking the questions is the one that's in control of the conversation. Then as you discover, actively listen, ask targeted questions, then you can articulate yourself. That's my data framework. So you don't want to just go into like defending yourself, justifying what you're coming, like, no. Ask questions first and use that data framework.
I know I need to level up my circle, but I feel surrounded by the wrong energy. How do I find people who push me higher instead of holding me back?
Okay, you have to do it intentionally. You have to do it intentionally. For me, I had to buy into a group. Like I ended up becoming part of, I hired a coach and I went on retreats and I became part of coaching groups because that was my desire. And that's nothing to say bad about the friends you currently have or your family, but sometimes you have got to get out of your own circle. Many times we have to get out of our own environment and get around people that are doing things bigger than us and wanting more than us. And it could start with a mentor potentially. But for me, I went in and I ended up joining coaching groups and hired a coach, still have a coach, still put myself in rooms that people are doing way bigger things than me because I want to borrow their belief, right? I want to see in action what's actually possible for them, because if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. And so that's why I think joining coaching groups, getting a coach, even going to like joining different organizations is the perfect place to start.
I want to invest in myself, but I'm scared. What if I spend the money and nothing really changes?
Yeah, that's a real concern. One that I also shared before I invested in myself. And when you really think about what your ROI is, it probably or may not be money. Your return on investment starts with you making those changes. And what I really realized was that I wasn't afraid of the money I was investing. I was afraid that I wasn't going to honor the commitments I made to myself and that I was going to make the changes that I wanted, that I knew I could do myself. So it was more around trusting me versus trusting anyone else.
How do I balance wanting to give and contribute with the nagging thought that maybe I'm not good enough yet?
You know, I work with a lot of women. I work with a lot of really like amazing, high achieving women who have already accomplished a lot. And what's interesting about these women is that they always feel like they need another degree. They feel they need to learn something new. They feel they need something else in order to prove to themselves that they are worthy. I actually, believe it or not, this comes up with men as well, but a lot with women. I even have clients who have gone back to school to get their MBA to just go back to work and have the same issues. That degree did not make them feel more confident. It didn't give them the thing that they needed because it's here. It's here. And so when you really understand, this really boils down to worthiness. This really boils down to how do I feel about me? And understanding you do not need another certificate. You do not need to learn more. You do not need anything else. You are actually worthy, but it starts with you shifting your mindset about you.
What's the first small step I take this week to stop overthinking and start moving toward the life I actually want?
Yes, I love this question because this person is all about action, action, action. And me too. So what's one small step? What was it, Kayla?
To stop overthinking and start moving towards the life I actually want.
Yeah. I would say pick one small area that doesn't feel as scary. So let's say that you want to speak up a little bit more in the next meeting, let's just say. Then I would say, hopefully there's an agenda. If not, ask for the agenda beforehand. And then I want you to write out some topics, some things that you could potentially talk about. And so when you can talk about, when you prepare, so many times you're waiting for a chance to like interject, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to prepare to interject. I want you to prepare a talking point, prepare to be ready to speak up in the room. If you do it the right way, you really want to talk about something that you've actually accomplished or done in respect to the meeting, the agenda. So I would say prepare beforehand and ask the question, say the talking point in front of other people. And if you really want to prepare, then I would say record yourself and then play it back so that you could hear yourself saying it.
How did you develop your personal style? Your outfits are fire. Corporate girly struggling.
Corporate girly struggling. You know, we have this idea in our head that we have to like look a certain way. And like, you know, that's the work vibe and then that's your home vibe. So how did I develop my personal style? Many, many eons ago, I worked at a corporate office, but it was in Soho. So, you know, lots of style down there. And they weren't very like clean, not that they weren't clean cut. They were more like high-end fashion a little bit, some of the girls in the office. So I had that influence. So that was number one. And then number two, I decided that I wanted to take risks. Like I liked wearing something that I could then wear it at night or wear it out or wear it, you know, in different places. So I would say when you really think about that question, you have a fear of being judged and you have a fear of standing out. And so I would say this week you should take a risk and wear something that feels a little off, but you feel looks really cute on you and looks good on you. So take that risk. And actually, why don't you take a picture and then tag me so I can repost you? Is that all?
Yeah, your outro.
What about you? You didn't have a question for me?
Wait, what was the question?
Question from my niece, Kayla. I don't know. You don't have a question? What's your question? Your own question. You've known me your whole life. This is the longest you've ever spent. You spend summers with me sometime. Not the whole summer, but this is the longest summer you've ever spent with me. What's the question? And you came with me to speaking events and we've hung out, we chilled. You came to me to record other people's podcasts, like when I was a guest.
How do you deal with situations that you know you can't control?
Well, that's a great question. That is a really great question. Honestly, though, releasing control is, if you could learn this at your age, you're going to be a million times better than a lot of people, because releasing control is hard. It's really hard, especially when it's with people we care about. And so, or really just in any situation, but especially with people we care about. I think the sooner you can understand that you're the only person you can control and that it is sometimes better for us to release the thing that we're trying to control and allow things to play out and know that God is always on your side. You're always going to go in the right direction and that the only person you can control is you. So the main goal here is to protect your own peace and to do it while treating other people good. And the way that I try to look at it is, even when I'm pissed off, and sometimes it may take me a moment to like, okay, I know I'm mad. Let me work through my feelings, allow myself to feel, and then how can I show love in this situation and protect my peace? And sometimes they feel very opposite, right? Protecting my peace feels here, showing love feels all the way over there. So how do I make it come a little bit closer? How can I show someone love and I could say, listen, I really love you. I don't like the way you behave, so I'm going to have to create some space. You could literally say that, and that is showing somebody love and also protecting your peace. But being able to say that is really hard for some people, but that's where you get clarity. And to me, clear is kind. So that's being kind and showing love at the same time. Did that answer your question? Yeah. All right, that's been fun. I think I'm going to do these more often. So these are your series that you came up with for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Success Unscripted. If you are not following me on Instagram, please go ahead and do so at jessicarivera. I kind of live in my story, so come hang out with me there, or also on LinkedIn. And everything will be in the show notes. And then also, I'm doing a boot camp a tough conversations boot camp. And if you're interested in that, I will also put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We'll talk soon. Bye.